Hi, hello, my name is Lottie, aka Sneezy Ferret, and I guess this video is a call to arms, so, well, at least the first step. Now, I tried this morning to set up a petition to legalise pepper spray in the UK and found that someone was way ahead of me and already had done it. So bravo them. The problem is that it hasn't got a lot of traction and it only stands at 340 signatures, and if you take into account other petitions for similarly trying to legalise pepper spray in England and Wales, then you'll see that they never get enough traction. I think the most signatures I saw on one was about 500. The problem is that if it doesn't reach a certain amount, then the government doesn't even have to acknowledge it. And I think that will be our first step in fighting them. Because at least if they don't sign off on it, they will have to explain themselves. And again, it's a good first step, or at least it's the only first step I'm seeing that's not rioting in the streets. And I'd like to avoid that, oddly enough. I want Britain to be safer and peaceful, not more violent. Now, so I guess this video is my argument for it. Now, in the past, I probably would have been reluctant. I would love to go back to how I used to feel, which was that Britain was a safe place. We could rely on our police to be able to defend us, that if something serious happened, that they would be there to help us. But if the recent train stabbings is anything to go by, that's not the case. And I don't just mean that it happened at all. I mean the fact that afterwards it turns out the suspect had walked into a barber shop on the day before with a knife, and the police didn't even attend. They just asked them to upload the CCTV footage. Now, it's one thing knowing that the police aren't responding to burglaries, quite another when they're not responding to something as serious as knife crime. So, yeah, we need to be able to defend ourselves. Now, I have seen people say that when you arm the public, you also arm the perpetrator. Yeah, that is true. But seeing as the majority of people who are leaving their homes to go and commit a violent crime are already armed, and that does seem to be the case if you look at the numbers, then why not just, again, not allow the public to be sitting ducks. Allow us to have something. Pepper spray, yes, it probably will be used by a few people inappropriately. We already know that. But the risks at the moment do not outweigh the need. We need this. Because we are unable to protect ourselves. We cannot rely on our government. We cannot rely on our police. And I agree with the discussion online that if just one person on that train had pepper spray, then they may have been able to possibly have less victims or even none at all. Who knows? Unfortunately, a lot of this is what ifs. So it is true that the amount of violent crime in the UK has gone up. So I'm just inserting this in the video because I'm sure someone's going to disagree with me and say, actually, no, the surveys say that crime has decreased in the UK. Actually, if you read it, there are a couple of paragraphs which are important to what I've already said, which says, police recorded crime does not tend to be a good indicator of general trends in crime because of changes in how crimes are recorded over time. Now, that's true especially with this survey because it does not take into consideration crimes against those 16 and under. And it also records certain crimes such as domestic abuse, sexual assault, stalking and harassment, not from numbers but from estimates. So you could pretty much make the survey say whatever you want to. I'm not accusing them outright of lying or making up numbers, just saying that it's not accurate. And yeah, I'm not going to take such a tiny proportion of decrease that seriously, given that if we look at the newspapers and how crime's reported publicly, it seems to be on the increase, not decrease. And general trends over the past decade show that it does increase, not go down. So yes, take from that what you will. At least this would again level the playing field just a little. Now, there are two stories that I just want to cover very, very briefly because I feel like I really should. One of which was not in the UK, and I'll explain my rationale for including it in the video in a second. The other one is that a married father of two sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl on a British Airways flight to Heathrow. He claimed he'd mistaken her for his wife. Now, it is true that if the 12-year-old had had pepper spray, it wouldn't have done her any good because she wouldn't have been able to carry it on the flight to begin with. So that's not the argument that I'm making here. It's how brazen it was. People assaulting someone in a crowded airplane? Seriously? And the other point is the fact that he was only jailed for 21 months. Now, I do watch Black Belt Barrister, and I have seen his breakdown of this, that judges have to abide by the sentencing guidelines and therefore cannot give someone longer than what is written. That doesn't mean I think that it's fair or good. This man sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl, a child, has just been sentenced to 21 months, which is barely anything. It is barely anything. I mean, the woman who put that comment online, and I know that it is referenced quite a lot, not just by me but by others, she was sentenced to 31 months. How is this fair or just in any way, shape or form? Pepper spray is not the only thing we need to argue against. It is these lenient jail sentences. That is if these people go to prison at all for violent crimes. Because a lot of them manage to escape with suspended sentences or just a slap on the wrist, and it's driving me nuts, as I'm sure it's driving you all nuts. The other story was one in Sweden, which I'm sure you lot have been aware of for a little while. The article, this one was written on October 25. The reason why I didn't cover it was just because there's so much stuff going on at the moment. But it is important. Sweden refused to deport a rapist of a young girl because apparently the crime didn't go on long enough, meaning that the girl wasn't terrorized long enough. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's not just Britain. We've got governments all across Europe and Britain who no longer care about the safety of their citizens. Their justice system, the same as ours, is just as terrible. So this is kind of a worldwide global problem, not just here. But it is the reason why we do need to be the first to do this. And hopefully if we are, other countries will follow in step. I hope. Anyway. I'm sick to death of seeing the news in the morning when it is just all these people just having the most horrendous, evil things done to them. The same as you probably are. It's a bombardment every single day. The news has just gotten worse. That doesn't mean I don't think that bad things didn't happen in the past, because of course they did, but the increase is obvious by the statistics, and you don't need to be a mathematician to work that one out. Hopefully this has convinced you it might be a good idea. I will leave the petition's address in the description below, so please sign it. We do need to get a government response to this. Again, even if they ignore it, they still have to give us reasons as to why they're not going to legalise it, and that will give us a stepping stone to be able to fight them on it further, I hope. Anyway, I love you all very much. Please, please, please take care, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.